So this web session is about circulation in the web client, and I didn't put together a specific agenda. I thought we could just go through the web client, show some things, open it up for questions, and I have a notepad along so that if folks have encountered certain issues that John and I need to explore, I'll make note of that. And realize that I'm not behind the circulation desk using the web client on a continual basis. So those of you that have used the web client are going to possibly encounter things that I have not seen, or obviously have some questions. So do we have any questions at the very beginning? Okay, quiet. I will go ahead and get started with the normal circulation functions. I guess before I get started, I wanted to get kind of a show of hands on how many have already gotten into the web client and played around a little bit. Okay, so some experience and some first timers. We did have a problem with somebody trying to log into the client a couple days ago using Microsoft Edge, and it did not work. But once they used Chrome, they didn't have any problems logging in. So be sure and let us know if you have a problem getting in, and we'll try to troubleshoot with you. So I've already got the web client logged in right now, and you see the main menu up on the screen. So checkout and check-in are easily findable here on the front page, also available under circulation, checkout and check-in. So I'm going to go ahead and go through checkout. I didn't hook up a scanner to my computer, so you get to see me type. Up. And obviously, I missed something. Let's try that again. Much better. Okay. So that works pretty much the same. My login information is over here to the left. It's ready for me to scan in barcodes. It also allows us to do things like paperback books, the non-catalog checkout, sorry. So just the same as before. So I think I created a couple temporary barcodes here for testing, since I don't have a collection. Misscanned as a non-cataloged item. Sorry if that was loud in your ears. And I can choose book. So I'm doing a pre-cat checkout. So any questions about that checkout procedure? To me, it looks very close to other than the appearance of the window itself, it looks similar and acts similar to the desktop client. Just like the desktop client, you can specify a specific due date by checking this box and entering your date. Another thing that is newer with this, not only, well, I guess it's with both clients, the ability to email a receipt. And so you see this envelope right here. That means that my account is set up to email a receipt by default. So when you can do the quick receipt, there's the email receipt and the print receipt that I can choose from. But when I click on done, it should send, as it indicates down here, emailed checkout receipt. So just getting out of my record by clicking on done, it sends a copy of all the items checked out to my email. Any questions so far? All right. If I want to go back to the home screen, because I'm not doing any more checkouts at this point, I can just click on the home icon. Or I could go to the circulation menu and click on check-in. Because I'm going to go ahead and check in this item that I just checked out. And another sound indicating it needs to be routed to cataloging because I checked in a pre-cat item. Most of your items won't have that, of course, coming up because most of your items are already cataloged. It does show the item I just checked in. If I had wanted to, let me minimize there's, just as in the desktop client, there's all the check-in modifiers that you can set by default. You can specify strict barcode, which means it has to be a 14-digit CODABAR barcode, and in my case, that wouldn't have worked well because it isn't a CODABAR barcode. It's just a made-up barcode. If I select this, there's all sorts of actions I can do on this particular item. I can add it to a bucket. I can retrieve the last patron who circulated it. I can even backdate post check-in. So if I'd forgotten to backdate and still wanted to, I could do that. Along with the other normal options, mark the item damaged, missing, add a copy alert, that kind of thing. And I could use even print a spine label or edit the volumes right now from here too. So there's a lot of things you can do from this screen, similar to the desktop staff client.
Beth, this is Dia. Can I ask a quick question?
Oh, you sure can.
So I see here that the title shows as what you put in on the items checked in, but I've noticed on the status, or excuse me, the item status screen, you don't see that.
Okay.
And I don't know if there's someplace else, if you're trying to fix something like this, then you don't know that you've got the right one.
Yeah, good question. Let's go ahead and bring up the item status screen and take a look at that. So item status, you can either bring it up by search for copies by barcode. And it's also under circulation item status. A couple different ways to get at it. So if I type in that barcode, see if I remember it. Okay. So as Dee indicated, it doesn't show a title. What I wanted to look at was our column pickers here, when it is a pre-cat item, the name is actually stored in a different field, and it's called dummy title, of all things, because it's not an official title. It's just these pre-cat records aren't associated with a particular bibliographic record. They're all by themselves, and so they have to store the title in a separate field. So what I'm guessing is, and John and I can look at the fixes in the subsequent releases. It could be that they've fixed this in a future release, displaying this actual title, but for right now it looks as if the pre-cat titles are not displaying. We do have a way to pull a report of those and identify the titles associated with that barcode, but it really needs to be in the web client. But I'm not seeing a field for that here. So I'm thinking that there's no way for us to temporarily fix this. We'll have to look and see if it's fixed in another version of the software. Are folks using the pre-cat feature on a regular basis?
When I come across one, when I'm doing cataloging or whatever, I just pull up the XUL client and run it that way to make sure I have the right one.
Yeah, and that makes sense, Dia. That's a good way to do it. Okay, so there's a couple libraries that have given feedback that they're not really using it. Most of the time we try and avoid it and get it cataloged before it goes out of the circ desk, but I know sometimes there's desperate patrons or desperate situations that we want to use it for. And Dia mentioned a good thing. What I have done is when I start work every morning, I bring up both the desktop client and the web client, and I try to do as much as I can in the web client so that I can get familiar with it. And there's definitely things I like better about it, but there's some things I still have to go back to the desktop client to do. Not as many, but there's some things that I'm having trouble doing in the desktop client that I can do in the web client. So it's definitely nice having them both up in front of you. Okay, one of the other things I wanted to show you that's different about the web client is the fact that I've been just using the same tab for everything, but if I wanted to open up a different tab and say that I wanted to search the catalog, I can either right-click on this search the catalog, and it says open link in new tab, or I can do a control click. Both of them work to open up a new tab, and you're still in the web client, but you have your item status screen in this tab and your catalog, search the catalog in this screen. So you can open up several tabs and maybe keep one dedicated for checkout and one dedicated for check-in if you desire, so you're not feeling like you're having to bounce them back and forth. So very similar to the desktop client, it's just that you open up those tabs in a different way. So,
and if you do by chance click on that plus, it'll open a tab in whatever your browser is, as opposed to in the catalog.
Correct. Yes.
and it happens when you're switching back and forth. You'll find you do it.
Yes, yes. And I've done it myself, and it's like, oh, that didn't help me at all. Well, okay. Yeah, and I did want to experiment. I was thinking about this morning. It's like if I type in catalog, that same EG staff, does it open up a new page? And it does. So, I mean, if you use the plus and want to go ahead and type in catalog, it usually remembers your link, and then you can get another home page up. But to get to the function you are wanting, it's probably quicker just to right click or control click. So the item status, just like before, it has a bunch of actions that you can do on a particular item. You can add it to a bucket, show in the catalog. There's just a bunch of things you can edit. The difference on this is that in the desktop client, we have two different action menus, one for cataloging and one for items, and here there's just one. I haven't noticed so far that there's things I can't do. Those of you who have used it, have you noticed any restriction in the actions within the item status? Okay, so I don't think we've lost any functionality, and in some cases it might actually be easier having all of it in one menu rather than having to choose which menu we want to look at. I've used this already to bring in a file of barcodes and delete items from my file. The file just has barcodes in from a report that I've created. So that has worked well. I haven't had any problems with that.
Beth?
Yes.
This is Anna. So if all of the actions are now in one menu, is there any way to maybe restrict some of those actions so that, say, on Circ, people can't do certain things, or?
I'm guessing, Anna, that the restriction would be permission-based. So even if they got into that function, they wouldn't be able to do it if they didn't have permission for it.
Okay, so they would still get like that pop-up asking for authorization.
Yeah.
Like in the desktop client. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that's what should happen. Let me know if you see something different. But yeah, we kept all the same permissions that we had before. So my guess is that they would just be restricted if they got into an area that they weren't allowed to do.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I do have another question since we're on this page. So I've tried, I might have been on the same page or like a check-in page, but I think it works both. They're probably both going to operate in the same way. If you try to reorder the different fields, so say, for instance, you don't want the alert message to be in that first column. When I've tried to reorder them and then, I guess, logged out, like it doesn't keep those, even though I've saved it, it only saves it for that particular session.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute, and you couldn't hear what I was saying. Anna, I was curious. It's supposed to save it to the browser you're working in. Do you know if you were using the same browser?
I believe so.
Okay.
Like even, right, if I came back later, like if I stopped working and got logged off, or I don't remember exactly the circumstances, but then came back later, yeah, they would be gone. Or those preferences would be gone.
Okay.
I've had a bit of that issue as well from time to time, but it doesn't seem to be consistent.
Okay, so save.
But I have been able to get him to save in a bucket anyway.
And I don't know if, like, I haven't tried that since Hatch has been installed on my computer, because I know that I think Hatch is supposed to help manage some of those local settings.
Yes.
So I don't, and I don't know if it does, apply to that as well. But and so, I guess I could try that. but I know there were some problems with that.
Okay. Well, I'm making a note of that so that we can play around with it and see if it's dependent on which area you're in, whether the save columns retains or whether it's just, see if we can find some pattern to it. I haven't worked a lot with switching things around. I see a note that John is testing it right now. I was going to go ahead and try to put alert message back over here. Let's see. Normally I want to see title first, so I'll drag that over here. Go to here. Okay.
So does it make a difference if you do it that way or use the pull down menu and reorder it that way? Does that seem to make a difference, Anna? Do you know?
I didn't know we could just drag and
I didn't
drop.
either. I didn't either. That's why I thought I'd
pull down menu.
Oh, that's why we do these sessions. It's like that's the way I do it all the time, and it's so fun. You just drag things around. But here again, I'm looking at save columns. Okay. And I could log out and log back in to see if it saves. To log out, you just click on this upper right-hand side icon. Click on log out. And what it does is it logs out all your tabs. So let's see. And I'm going to go ahead and log. I have lots of profiles set up, as you see, because I work with lots of different libraries. So I'm going to be a Union Public. Just for checking things and checking things out, I have to, otherwise I'll be putting things in transit all over the place. Okay, so we were on the item status screen. So let's go. Search for copies by barcode. Okay, it saved it. So at least on this screen, I didn't try it obviously in the list mode, so I have to play around with it some more. But I'm grateful to see that at least at this instant it's saved, and then we can watch out for those problem areas. Give us plenty of feedback. I had mentioned the email receipts. Have you guys been using that with your patrons? I'm wondering if I need to go over that feature on how to enable it. Okay, so Faith and Jenny are saying those that want it, we do. But I'll go over it real quick for those who haven't had a chance to see it. I'll go back into, I'll go search for patrons. I'll bring up my patron record again. Still under Longwell. Let's see, search. The other thing with this patron search form is when you first bring it up, it might look like this, where it only has the name. If you click on this downward arrow, it will show more fields. And then once you do that, it remembers that and you don't have to do it again. But just wanted to let you know in case that had happened to you. So I'll click on search. And here I am. Okay. If I double click on that line, it brings up the record. Okay, so if I go in and I edit my record, down here under the email address is now a new line that says email checkout check out receipts by default. If you check that, then they will get their checkout receipts by default via email. Of course, they have to have a valid email address in their record, but otherwise it should work fine. The patron can also turn this on in their My Account. So if it's something they decide that they want to do later, they can from the OPAC. All right. Are there any questions? This registration form is trying to register a patron. Okay, Mary has it set up on her account, but she's yet to receive an email. That's curious, Mary, because I've been getting emails. I checked it yesterday, so I wonder why you are not. Okay, Deanna hasn't been getting them either. Have you guys checked your spam folders? I'm wondering if your email provider thinks it's spam. Okay, you've checked. All right, we'll do some more testing on the emails that go out. You know, let me check. I think that all I did when I checked out that item in front of you guys was I clicked on Done. And yeah, it went ahead and sent me the receipt saying you checked out the following items. So it did it without selecting one of the options. So Mary, when you've done it, have you selected the option?
Unmute us. Hi, Beth. Can you hear me?
I can.
So we have it set up so it's supposed to automatically send us an email, and we've had that set up for a couple of months now, and we both check out books a lot to ourselves.
Yeah.
Never gotten an email.
Okay. Do you see this little envelope when you're checking things out to yourself?
No.
Okay, the envelope is supposed to come up if the patron in question has the email option. Otherwise, a printer icon shows. We'll have to do some more testing, Mary, because this is curious. Is it just Mary that's having problems with this?
Well, we haven't heard from any other patrons. We haven't heard from any other patrons, but Deanna also has it set up on her personal account, and she has never gotten an email.
Okay.
She said she doesn't get her text messages either. Well, my hopes come in.
Oh.
It's iffy on that one.
Text messages. So basically, text messages are sent by an email as well from the server.
I do get my email notification and my text notification, but I don't get my checkout receipt.
Okay. All right, so we have some curious problems. We might have to open it up and see whether others are having a problem and see if we can find a commonality. So those of you who have patrons using it, maybe check and make sure that they're getting their emails. So we can make sure it's working for folks. Like I said, I was happy to get my emails yesterday when I was testing this, and I thought everything was good. So we'll
Oh, never mind.
So you have a printer icon. John, do you have your account up?
I do, and mine is showing the little envelope as well. So,
Okay.
and so when I go under my patron record, do you have all of the hold notices checked for phone, email, SMS, and a default carrier for your SMS?
I don't even have those checked, John.
Oh, okay. And then there's also a check mark underneath email address that says email checkout receipts by default for the patron. So if you go under edit.
Mary, are you on your computer right now? Are you able to check that?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
But now I can't find my personal account. I can just find my staff. In fact, oh, never mind. I got it. Okay, edit. Okay, so I have my email checked, my SMS checked, and I get all of those.
Okay.
So
Mary, do you have go ahead, John.
Oh, I was just going to say, so on the first section where it has your email address, the email checkout receipts by default is underneath that. So it's in a completely different section.
Yes, it's checked.
Okay.
All right. The system's making an exception for you and Deanna. I'm not sure why, but we'll see. We'll see if we can get some feedback from other folks too. See if we can figure out what's going on. All right. Any other questions?
Sound like a dumb one, but so if you had items out and you went to that,
yes,
you could do a receipt that's a email receipt there as well.
Print item receipt.
So it's not going to default to whatever the other
I
is.
don't think it will. I think this is going to be, a situation where the patron's in front of you and you want to print out a receipt for them.
Right.
Is my guess.
I just was curious if it worked across all of them.
Yeah, let's see what it does. I mean, it's not going to hurt to choose it. Yeah. So my printer comes up.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just going to print out a receipt on the spot by selecting that. But that was a good question, Dia, because it'd be nice to know. Does this mean I can print it to email?
Thank you.
When you were at checkout, because it was checkout that allowed you to do the email receipt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So does that actually, that will only email the items that you're checking out and not the full list of what is checked out to the patron then, right?
Correct.
Because in the desktop client, right, it's like you have to go to items out to print out a receipt. You can't do it from checkout. And so you end up always having to print out the entire list of items. So it sounds like that's changed.
It has changed. At least while you're still in this screen, all of the things that they have checked out in this transaction will be on that receipt. So they can, their emails will give them a running total of things that they've checked out.
Right. Great.
So I think it's a really nice feature. I'm glad they added it.
Yeah, it's nice to have both options, right?
Yes, it is. So over to items out, Just like before, there's lots of actions you can do on your items out. I can edit the due date. I can mark things lost. The renew options are the same as they were before. I can check in from this screen. So I can cause lots of checkouts and check-ins on this one. So this is another title that I had checked out yesterday. I can go ahead and check it in. And it's going to give me that notice that it needs to be routed to cataloging again. Okay, so I have no more items underneath items out. Just trying to think of other things. A lot of the functionality is the same. It just looks a little different with the tabs. The items checked out, your normal items will be here. Any non-catalog circulations, those are things that, this patron checked out 5 paperback books and they're not cataloged in the system. I'm keeping it for count purposes. Those will show up in this tab. This other special circulations, things that will appear in this tab are things like claimed returned items, things that have like a special status, or there's something different about their transaction. So you shouldn't see too many in this category as well. Trying to think of other things that might be different. Here again, like with the other pages, this last arrow on the right-hand side is your column picker, and you can turn things on and off. You can add other fields to this display if you'd like to. You can, one of the things that you can manage the columns by clicking on this, and then it allows you to move things up and down and move it to the top of the list, uncheck things. There's all sorts of things you can do within the Manage Columns area. Most of the time I just drag and drop or uncheck and check. The other thing, like the column widths, you can just do that by moving things typically. I was playing with it yesterday, managing the column widths, and to make it more narrow, you do this, and to make it wider, you do this. I'm trying to think. This one could be smaller, the renewals. Find stop title probably needs to be wider. So you can play around with your display and go ahead and save columns. Kelly says, I keep track of reference questions. Is that still possible? Yes. Any non-catalog type that you had before, you still have. I'm just logged in as a union workstation, and they only have paperback set up as a non-cataloged checkout. So that's why they didn't see. If I was logged in as a Hermansen station, I would see your reference type, I'm sure. Okay, so what else was I going to do? I think I was going to show you that the actions, because I have nothing in here, my action down isn't working. But if I did, you'd see that you had the same actions as you had before. Nothing new there. Or nothing missing from what you've had before. Group member details. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. I don't know if I was having sound problems there, but you were kind of breaking up when you were discussing the other special circulations and the non-catalog circulations, and I didn't hear how would things get into these categories.
Okay. The non-catalog circulation, let me just play with that. If I go back to checkout under my personal account and I select paperback book, usually, I thought I used to be able to put a number in here. So we'll just click on submit. Now it asks me. I didn't play with this yesterday. So say that there's a library that has a bunch of paperbacks that they haven't cataloged, and it's kind of on an honor system checkout, and you just want to express that they took out 3 paperback books from this shelf. Click OK. And then if I go to items out, you can see that under non-catalog circulations, there's 3. And the way that non-catalog circulations work is it assigns them a checkout date and a due date. But when the due date happens, this transaction just goes away. So if they happen to not bring the books back, it's not a big deal. These non-catalog circulations do show in the, I add them into the State Library report. So if you are using the system to track these types of checkouts, they will be reflected in your checkout stats. So I pull a report of all the non-catalog circulations for all the libraries in the system and make sure that they're getting credit for those. Okay, and Faith and Jenny are asking, can the patron have a credit for a non-circ? I'm not sure I understand what a credit. Oh, we keep cards with credit counts for trades. I don't know that there would be an automatic way to do that. I think we'd have to add a note to their record. If you wanted to get rid of your cards and keep track of it in the system, that could be a patron note. Does that answer your question, Anna?
Yeah, so then how does, because you just said that like if it doesn't get returned, it'll still disappear from their account once it reaches the due date. But can you actually, like, I guess with the check-in, then if the patron does bring it back, then do you manually go into the patron's account and remove it from this list? Is that how that works? Because obviously there wouldn't be, right, there probably wouldn't be a barcode to scan in.
No, there's no barcode. You almost just have to wait. I was looking at this and there's no actions for this particular category, so I can't check in from here. So I think it's just a matter of it's just going to disappear, so you don't worry about it. That way, when these books are in the book drop, you know, you don't have to be concerned about what patron has it, or identifying the patron that has it and trying to clean it up. It'll just go away on its own. And it's meant to be a help, not a hassle to process these materials. And still keep track of, count-wise, record them, but not have to worry about them becoming overdue.
Is that the Circ ID that I'm seeing there? But that's just an auto-generated one. So that's not actually attached to the item. So like if a patron returned the book in the book drop, you wouldn't actually know, like say it was like book club items, right? Mm-hmm. You wouldn't actually know which of the book club members turned in a copy. You would just know that you have one copy of the book club back. Okay.
Correct. Yes. There, because there's, yeah, like you said, there's no official number associated with it. If you don't have the books individually barcoded, it's just, okay, we have one back. We're waiting for the other ones, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And the other special circulations has to do with, I know when I was looking in the manual, they said that when a patron claims they returned an item, that will go under other special circulations, just so you have a record of it in their patron record. Rather than items checked out, it goes from items checked out to other special circulations.
Is that where lost items will go? Will that leave their items out? Or I guess it's right. Will that leave the items checked out tab and then go to the other special circulations as well? Then the way it does in the web browser or the desktop.
I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
I don't have any on my record to look at. I'd have to bring up somebody else's record, and I don't want to broach any privacy issues. So it's like I can show my information because I'm giving permission, but that is my assumption, is that it will go into this other special circulations. As I play with it some more, I'll find out that for sure. Okay, any other questions out there?
Beth, you started to show something about registering a patron. Was there something specific there before we interrupted you that you wanted to show us?
I think I just wanted to show you that it was the same.
Okay.
You know, I don't think that there's anything. The screen looks different in the web client. For sure, it seems like things are bigger and highlighted more, but the same fields that you needed to fill in are the same ones that have always been there. So I don't think that you're going to notice, other than that one field that we identified, the email checkout receipts by default. That's a new feature. I think everything else is fairly close to the same. So let us know if you see any issue. Birth date is backwards. Oh, thanks, Faith. I hadn't looked at that. Okay. Date of birth. So okay. So by backwards, I guess I could go back into my record. Circulation. Retrieve last patron. So it's requiring you to type it in the other way. It displays it the normal way. Curious. Has anybody else experienced this? Okay. Do we want it to be back to the old way? Okay, yes. All right, I'll see if we can change that. See, it really helps somebody using the system that's behind the circ desk and doing all these things. I haven't created any patrons. Okay, we'll work on getting that switched back. That must have been a default that we did not choose. Anything else about the registration form that was different? Oh, she's saying just click the calendar for month and day, then change the year that comes up. Yeah, that's quicker. But I'm thinking it'd be nice to be able to just type it in regular and not get an error message. The way we're used to, anyway. Okay, let me look at another feature. So we're in my record. Due date shows up similarly. Okay. So when you have items out, it does a year, month, day. Oh, when you're specifying the yes, specifying the due date, you're right. When it displays it in items out, it's the regular way. But if you have to enter the date.
I'm suspecting that any place you have to enter a date, that maybe that's
Yeah.
the way it's defaulting.
Yeah, now that Kathleen pointed that out, I'm guessing, yes, that there's some kind of default feature for inputting dates, that it's got it swapped around. At least with this one, it's close, the calendar comes up, so you can specify a date easily enough on the calendar, but birth date's not as easy.
Seems like somewhere along the line, I remember seeing something about a date feature or something that was changed in a different release, but I don't know if it was this or something else.
Okay.
So it may be that it's kind of stuck there. I don't know, but it's worth checking on.
It is. It is. We want to make life easier for ourselves. So I was going to look at doing groups to see. I didn't test this out yesterday. Group member details. So I'm not seeing. Okay. This is not adding people to my group. Have any of you added to groups on the web client? Okay, tried but doesn't seem to work. Faith, where did you go? I seem to remember that this was one of the, oh yeah, you couldn't find where to go. Yeah, I think that this is something that they don't have working in our current version on the web client, but they do have it fixed in a future version. So I was just curious to see whether the web client was going to back me up on my memory. Yes, it does show group fine. So if you've already set up your group, in the desktop staff client, it will show you. But actually setting up the group, I think it was, I'll have to look and see what software release that improvement came out in, because I thought I remembered it was that was one of the shortcomings of the release that we were on, was my recollection. Okay, so I'll look at groups and when that's going to be in place. All right, so under the circulation menu, same options that we had before: capture holds, pull list. And let me go ahead and take a look at the pull list real quick. This is going to be a pull list for union, since I'm logged in as a union workstation. Right now, by default, it's in order by shelving location, which is fine. You can actually change the order if you want. Where did I see that? Under here. Maybe. I'm thinking of something else, obviously.
If you select the list, can you do something under actions for that? I've never been able to figure this out, so.
I don't know. I sorted it yesterday, and I'm trying to think of why. No, I don't want the detail list. List view. Print full list. Sends me to my printer. Interesting. I saw a sort option somewhere. Not that I particularly want to sort it because it's in the order I would want to go to the shelves in. But curious. Now I'm trying to remember what I saw yesterday. Have any of you used the pull list feature? Jenny says, our pull list cuts off part of the call number. Is this a setting? That's on our receipt printer. Probably. What you could do, we'd probably have to customize your receipt printer template for this particular list, is what I'm guessing, Faith. Here again, we can manage our columns and get rid of some things. But there's also something else called an alternate list that I'm not seeing a tab on here.
Well, you can also, under the column picker, you can set the sort priority. Is that what you're looking for?
Maybe. I didn't think it was called that, but maybe that's what I was looking at.
What's this? Except the window looks different.
The reset columns would restore it back to the default. I haven't made any changes yet. Well, I will find it. It's like you do something once or twice and queue position, no. Queue position has to do with the patron's position in the queue of all the holds for that particular title.
What if you do manage columns up at the top? It gives you
oh, maybe that's what it was. This is probably where I was trying to manage columns. All the way back up at the top. So I managed columns. No, I didn't do this. Oh, I did move the visible columns to the top. But no, it had something to do with sort order, and it wasn't sort priority. Oh, well, okay. I don't want to waste everybody's time on it. I will play some more with the pull list, and maybe I was actually in a whole different area when I had the sort option. You do have the ability, oh, maybe that's just what I was doing. If you want to sort by something different, you can just click on the column heading and it sorts it by that. I just thought I had an option over here to the right that allowed me to sort too. I can sort by author if I want to, and it puts it in author order. Put it back in shelving location order. So it's easier just to click on the column heading to sort it. And does this work for the hold shelf? It should. We can go in and look. Hold shelf. Okay. Still displaying. Okay, the column headings in the hold shelf are not underlined. So I'm guessing that means we can't sort by column. No. If we dragged, say we don't care about the hold ID, we just care about, what would we want to care about? Let me get out of here. I'm thinking that we might want to care about how long it's been on the hold shelf. Shelf expire time, I think, is important to have on there, because this shows when, if you cleared your hold shelf, when it would go off. So I think what I would do is I would move this over to the beginning. And it doesn't sort it any different. But I'm wondering if I come out of here, if I save. Save columns. Yeah, Anna?
What about if you click the little checkbox, there, will it then pull up, will then it give you action? Is actions now highlighted where you can do something?
Yes, but sort is
not.
Yeah, sort is one of those.
Actions.
There's lots of dangerous things we could do with them all highlighted, but but no. I did think about that, and so I'm glad we tried it, but no, it doesn't. I was going to save columns and then come back into this, back into hold shelf. Okay, no, it still displays them in the order it wants to display them in. If we wanted to play with it some more, the other option is to download it, download the full CSV, separated values, and bring it into a spreadsheet, and then we could do all sorts of manipulation with it if we needed to. I'm thinking that you probably only need to do that if you've got a really big hold shelf, and it's too difficult to manage that way. I'm wondering if these columns are going to be sortable eventually, and whether this is just a feature that we don't have right now. And I think it's one of those things that we could certainly ask for and see if other people are interested too. Faith, you were asking about the available date. The available date has to do with, What does it have to do with? Request date?
When,
when it
isn't
was
that the
put.
date when it was ready to pick up?
Yes. Yep. It means the available date means something different in the item record itself than it does in the hold shelf. So I had to grapple that with my mind. And so, yes, that would be when it was put on the hold shelf and ready for pickup and available for the person to pick up. So that was a very good question on the hold shelf, being able to click on the column headings, but it's not working for right now. All right, I noticed that we have gone past our hour. I'm thinking that we should probably end this session pretty quick, just because of people's work schedules. But are there any last minute questions? Do we want to do another one of these sessions? What's the opinion of the group? What do you see if you show clearable holds? Show clearable holds, what it shows is those things that have already expired, either because the hold date has expired or shelf date. And so these were things that supposedly the patron should have picked this up before the 19th of February. These are some things that are kind of older and still on the hold shelf. So I might have to check with the library and ask why they're still on the hold shelf. Kelly's saying yes, another session. Okay. We will do that. How often do we think we want to do a session? Is every 2 weeks too often? Okay, so we'll plan the next one for a couple weeks from now, and then I'll touch base with everybody and see if we want to keep them going. But it helps all of us, I think, having this interaction with the web client. So thanks for attending. Hope everybody has a good day.